5, 6, 7, 8.
June 3rd. It's June 3rd, everybody.
1, 2, 3.
Let's do it. Okay, here we go.
Let's cancel a wedding.
Oh.
Oops.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Gilmore to Say with Tara and Haley. I'm Tara. This is Haley. Hi, Haley.
Hi, Tara.
It's funny. We ended last week's episode kind of ambiguously, and our editor had no idea how to end it. The only note I got on the episode from her before I started noting it was, how do we end this? I was like, exactly our question. Very understandable ask, Miss Liran.
How did it end? That's so fair. We don't know.
It was so funny. I saw that and I was like, this is understandable. This makes a lot of sense.
Or in that it doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. It was one of those, we were in one of those silly, goofy moods because we did a double record, which we rarely do. And
we never do a back-to-back record.
We never, or very rarely we do. But this was a back-to-back. And so I think by the end of it, we were just like, or
delirious.
Being me, I was like, well, maybe we won't even have an episode.
Maybe we won't even have an episode. And I kept being like, what? Are you serious?
No, like, I was just referencing the June 3rd of it all, of like, oh, would it be great to delay it and then canceled? So
yeah,
it wasn't
canceled.
It felt like we needed to leave the June 3rd episode ambiguous on purpose because June 3rd is ambiguous, which today, if you're listening to this the day the episode drops, it is June 3rd.
It is June 3rd. Finally, an episode that we do about June 3rd is going to end up on June 3rd.
Yeah. And if you're watching this or listening to this or watching it on YouTube on June 4th, not as fun.
Definitely
fun, right?
Not as impactful. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Can I tell you, I went to get milk for my dad the other day at the grocery store, and there was one that was expired on June 6th and one that expired on June 3rd. And I was like, well, let's get that one because there was a wedding that expired that day too.
Wow. Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? But yeah. So.
But before we get started and we get into the June 3rd of it all, we wanted to announce that finally our stamps collection, our Sending All My Love collection, is available now at www.gilmoretosay.com after a bit of a delay with the USPS, which is very ironic.
Isn't it very ironic that our stamps collection, don't you think, that the stamps collection was delayed by USPS. Like, I will say, when I mentioned that to my sister, she was like, wait, your stamps are actual USPS stamps? And I was like, I don't know where your brain made that leap, but no. It's just that they're sabotaging us.
Yeah.
Like, but
just a little bit.
Yeah. But now we're here and we're back. And this beautiful collection that I love so much can end up in your hands.
We're really excited. I'm sorry we had to delay it 2 weeks, but it's here. And we love it. It's here.
Because we're sending all our love.
Yes, exactly. So you can go to www.gilmoretosay.com and shop that collection. We were really excited for this to drop for Suki and Jackson's anniversary because, of course, all about the love. But we still are sending our love on June 3rd. I mean, it's a tough date in the Gilmore Girls fandom.
Yeah, it's like we're sticking a stamp on a wedding invitation and sending it off and inviting you to our little town. Right?
It's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, could be.
So here's the thing about June 3rd that I want to get out of the way before we actually dive into what today's episode topic is, because we had put it out to our listeners.
That it's my half birthday.
Hey, it's your half birthday. 6 months from now, Haley will have her double golden birthday, 33. Love that for you.
Yeah, me too. I already have my birthday planned. I have invitations made.
Do you?
Yes.
Wow. Can't wait. Very excited.
I'm so ready. I'm so excited. If you want to come to Florida, you can come. All of you. If you want to come to Florida,
I was going to say, who are you inviting? Me? Luna? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, it was actually for Luna. So sorry. That was so awkward. She's sitting behind you. I made eye contact with you accidentally. No, but you can come. Yeah. Just anyone wants to come, let me know.
Great. Can't wait. No, but we put a question box up asking people like, hey, June 3rd is on a Tuesday. How do we celebrate? You know, besides canceling the episode, a la canceling the wedding. And people, y'all gave some great suggestions. A lot of them.
Such good suggestions.
Like so much so that's what we decided to do the episode on today. Some of your suggestions. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
But then there were so many other ones that I'm like, oh, we have to like finish our Patreon rewatch and then we'll get to these, because they were just like, they were like spicy episodes or just really like, not like off the wall, but things we hadn't considered before. Y'all are great. Great job, everyone.
Really, really good. But a lot of people in the question box put something in there that people have DM'd us about so much or commented so much. Yeah. And I just want to let you all know, we know. We promise we know that Rory's court date was also June 3rd. There were so many people who were like, hey, did you guys know that Rory's court date was June 3rd? We're like, yeah.
Hell yeah, we did.
Of course we did.
100%.
But I guess we don't talk about it very often.
Because you know what? It's so
secondary
random and just small and said in passing that then to make it like the date of their wedding that like will they get married? Will they not? They don't, as it turns out. That there's so much pressure on that they're like, oh, but look at this other thing. And it's like, we know. Mm-hmm. We know. It's the other June 3rd, right? Last year's June 3rd.
It's the prior year's June 3rd. Yes. Because her court date was that day. And then we go through the whole rigmarole of them making up
the next year.
You know, following the next year. Yeah.
Question. Do you think that Amy was hurt on a June 3rd?
I was just about to ask you, did we ever mine why June 3rd is the date? Because clearly it comes up twice.
I have this vague memory of us having talked about this in the past on a June 3rd. And I think that I remember it being like someone's birthday, someone's friend's birthday, someone's sister's something.
Yeah.
We got to ask Amy.
If you guys know or remember us talking about it, please let us know. Because we're going to do some Gilmore to Considers next month, kind of covering some of the things that we talk about in this episode, in episodes of the past, episodes of the future. But let us know. Maybe we can yap about it then.
Yeah, we shall.
But today's episode is actually going to be all about June 3rd and the main reason why we all consider June 3rd to be such a prominent date in the Gilmore Girls fandom, and that is that it was supposed to be Luke and Lorelai's wedding day. Mm-hmm. It was the wedding day that never was. It should have been their wedding day, but it wasn't. Great title for the episode. Great play on it should have been Lorelai. It should have been their wedding day.
I was like, oh, we're just making things up now, but you're so right. That is like, it should have been Lorelai.
You're like, what?
I was like, what? I was confused.
So today we want to talk about the wedding that never was, what we know, what we don't know, and what could have been, because this episode could have been a very, very interesting episode to see play out.
I would have loved this, especially following season 5 with Wedding Bell Blues, to then have a wedding in season 5 that is very different and almost like the villainous nature of Wedding Bell Blues was defeated and Chris is out of the picture and she got married to Luke regardless of Emily's desire, which I think is a nice little switcheroo. But I would have liked to see another moment like that.
I think so too. So we're going to start with what we know, and then we're going to move into what could have been a little fan fiction. Because we haven't had a fan fiction episode in a while, and we're not going to necessarily write a fan fiction episode, but we're going to kind of, hypothesize.
Kind of
a little what if. Yeah. Which I'm really excited to do because I've never really thought about this until today. When we decided we were going to do the episode like this, I was like, oh, I'm excited.
Well, because I went back and watched her retelling of discovering June 3rd and her little
dress,
path.
Of course.
Yes, her little path. And then suddenly it was like bing, bing, boom. My brain was exploding like fireworks of all of like the what ifs of what could have happened.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear what your little brain fireworked off. So let's start with what we know, what she rattled off in season 6, the episode, The Perfect Dress. And this, of course, is right after she and Rory have reconciled. This is when Luke has found out about April. He has not told her yet. And Lorelai goes off with Suki, BFOTB, best friend of the bride, to, try and start laying the foundation for the wedding because now she and Rory have reconciled. And as we've talked about, and we talked about extensively in our Suki episode, our Suki and Jackson episode, that she's like really pressuring the two of them to like set a date for the wedding. So now that it's happening, Suki is like, firing on all cylinders, full speed ahead. She really, really wants to get this planned. Yeah. And so they end up going to, I don't remember where they go, but they stumble upon this.
They're looking for the stationery store, I believe.
Yes, the stationery store.
And they can't find it. And so they see the bridal salon across the street. And she wants to go inside because you've got the golden ticket.
You got the golden ticket. Yeah, it's true. So they famously go into this wedding dress shop and they spot the perfect dress, which I love. I know a lot of people don't love that dress. I love that dress. It looks phenomenal on her. I'm so glad we got to see her in it. It's very Suki. I can't get started. We don't get to see her wedding, but we see her wedding dress and she looks beautiful. Yeah. Same with Lorelai. This dress is genuinely perfect for her. It fits her like a glove. It was on sale. She had been talking about how she didn't want to wear like pure white. She wanted it to be more of like a blush or, you know, and there's a cream sash, which really satisfies Luke's need to have white involved in her dress because he's very, very passionate about her wearing white because his mother wore white. So it satisfies all the needs. And once the dress comes to her, similarly to how you felt, like fireworks just start going off and everything comes together. So first she comes into Luke's diner and when she has the dress, honestly, she has it like in the box in her hand. She has these duck sausage rolls, which I imagine were maybe like I don't know if she found them near the church.
I imagined like they were from the caterer.
The caterer, right?
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought too.
You know what's interesting? When she walks in, she goes, "Well, we're done," and it feels like a prophecy. Well, all of a sudden, done. Like a premonition that she comes in having planned this, and it's like it's doomed from the beginning.
Unfortunately, yes.
But not in this episode.
No, definitely not.
They're gonna get married
on June 3rd. So she comes in with these incredible duck sausage rolls. She tells him about finding the perfect dress. Because it's strapless, they're going to have a summer wedding. Summer flowers mean daisies, which is very interesting that they went with daisies considering the Thousand Yellow Daisies and the Max Medina of it all. Daisy Stationery, they find Daisy wedding invitations. The place is running a special. They're going to handle the RSVPs. It's all done. They go to this coffee shop and they see a picture in the window of the coffee shop of a rose-covered church. And it's around the corner from the coffee shop. So they go to the rose-covered church and they meet Pastor Todd.
They talk to Pastor Todd.
Who sounds like just a stand-up guy.
He sounds like he knows Assistant Pastor Eric.
Yes. It sounds like he and Reverend Skinner would be friends.
Would be pals.
Totally.
Yeah.
And out back from the church, there's a separate function hall with floor-to-ceiling windows with doors that open up to behind the hall where there is an old carousel. The carousel is from 1850 and should be fully restored and working by June 3rd, which, by the way, is the day of their wedding. And absolutely nobody in Stars Hollow has a conflict with June 3rd. It's literally perfect. Pastor Todd's sister has a catering company, hence the duck sausage rolls. Suki blessed it. We're good. Luke's wearing a tuxedo. The alterations are free.
Slay.
Do you think that the caterer is going to also handle the cake?
See, we could save that for the little fan fiction-y because that wasn't mentioned.
Okay.
Because I have a thought.
You have a thought?
But no, to answer your question.
Me
That's
either.
a Suki thing.
That's so Suki.
That's so Suki.
Yes.
Like, she's the cake.
It's the cake that she will bake. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cake that she will bake.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100% Suki's on the cake.
Yeah.
Like Suki's on the case.
Suki's on the cake.
What I meant to say is Chase is on the case. I've been reading a lot of Paw Patrol books this last week, of course.
Of course.
So Suki's on the cake. Chase is on the case. Very, very similar.
Did I miss any details?
There is one particular detail that you did miss. And for me, it's kind of integral to my what if. And that is that it starts snowing when she starts talking about this because she sees it as a sign. And what I think is really interesting about this entirety of June 3rd and this episode, Lorelai's kind of trajectory in the perfect dress, is at first she's very against it. For like no obvious reason. I remember talking about that in Patreon when we covered that episode. It's like I can't figure out what's wrong with her, like what her attitude is about. But then it's almost like fate steps in and guides her down this path and she finds all these things and it just fits perfectly to the point that her like series sort of sign, which is snow, starts falling in the middle of her talking about this. And she sees that as such, that like, this is the perfect date. This is the perfect dress. Everything happened perfectly. He's the perfect guy. Like what could go wrong? And then later in the episode, she's like, is everything too perfect? And something that I kind of want to focus on in this what if is the idea of Lorelai's complicated relationship with fate in this retelling of like what happened to her today, in addition to the snow. Because it seems like she takes a lot of stock in that. And like, how would that play into a wedding day feeling fateful in the same way that it came together?
Okay. Interesting.
Because it felt like just so strong that fate like put all these steps together. Like it was fateful. The universe was obsessed with her that day, that all of this should fall into place so casually.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So
But yeah, I
let's
think that's a lot of details.
maybe fill in some of the blanks. You asked a question here in our shared note about whether or not April is still a factor.
Yeah. So that was like one of the main things that I was trying to articulate, because I actually asked about 5,000 questions in our about this, because I want to know if the wedding happening is as a result of like what caused the change from the original storyline. Because I think we have to go back to him finding out about April. Like, is that the storyline we want to go with?
Yeah, I think that we have to stay within the narrative of like Luke still finds out he has a daughter, but maybe they don't postpone. And all of these things are still arising. They just haven't postponed the wedding.
Yeah.
Because I do still think that there would have been conflict between the two of them in him not really allowing Lorelai rather to be a part of April's life as he navigates how to be a part of April's life. Because I do think that that would serve as some of the drama that happens in this hypothetical story we're telling and this hypothetical episode we're painting the picture of, you know?
Yeah, because I remember when we covered A Vineyard Valentine, something that we were talking about then was that maybe there was a reversal on the delay because of this like connection that they had made, and they were like kind of seeing eye to eye, but ultimately that episode ends and everything's still the same. That I wonder if there would have been a delay and they kind of like work it out, and then they're like, okay, well, let's make June 3rd happen. And
I like that.
How it plays out.
I like that. I could definitely get down with that, because I do think that that would garner even more drama, because it's like, you know, there's room for the possibility of like, I knew we should have canceled.
Yeah. Because I also like the idea of like everything's so fatefully fell into place that maybe now it's a little bit more work to put everything back where it goes.
Yeah, to get it there.
For June 3rd, because it was delayed. But I mean, I guess she had deposits and all these things, because isn't that what they're talking about in A Vineyard Valentine, when she's like, I guess that's the final nail in the coffin on June 3rd, that she like lost her money on these deposits.
Yeah.
But maybe she doesn't have to, because maybe they can continue on.
I kind of like that. All right, let's roll with that.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Okay, so the first question that I posed was, where would this episode have fallen in the season? And I think we're both in agreement.
It has to be the finale.
Yeah.
Like,
especially given the day that it falls on, you know, it's so late in.
It feels like the
feels
last episode.
Like, but like the tone of the episode also just feels like the season finale.
Yeah.
Would that have been too redundant of Suki's wedding in the finale of season 2?
I don't think so. I kind of like that idea of that happening for both of them. Like that, like, I don't know. I feel like best friends would have matching season finale weddings.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, so it would remove partings, which is like heartbreaking, but for like the happiness of all of our friends, let's take it out. Let's make everyone happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we could still probably throw some of the partings.
Oh, we got some drama to do. We've got drama to do just for you. Yeah. I got some lined up. Don't worry.
Thank God. Okay, who would have been in the wedding party?
Definitely Rory and Suki.
Yeah. For me, it's just those two. But who would have been on Luke's side is the question.
Here's where the drama comes in, my friend. Of course, it's going to be Jess.
Jess Mariano.
Jess is going to be fucking standing up there. But I think that Lorelai, in her mind, she needs it even. He can't just have Jess.
Totally.
So in order to like even it out, they throw Jackson up there.
Oh, I was going to say TJ or Liz.
Ooh, oh, I forgot about Liz. Oh, well, what if we had all three of them? What if it was Liz, Rory, Suki? Because I feel like Liz would be in the wedding party, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you put your sister-in-law there.
Sure.
Me and all my sisters were in my sister-in-law's wedding party.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Sister-in-laws.
Sister-in-law. I
Clink their rings. I know you do.
So riddle me this, and maybe this is part of the drama. Where does April fit into all of this?
Junior bridesmaid.
So she's on Lorelai's side?
Junior groom's girl.
That is, I mean, I know they did this in Wedding Bell Blues where like Rory is like the best man and she has her little suit and she dresses up. But would they have wanted to replicate that? I don't know.
Maybe she reads something. That's so April, right?
Yeah, that's very April.
She reads the...
Well, they're in a church, so maybe it's some sort of passage.
Oh, see, I was thinking something scientific.
Oh, yeah.
Because of April. I don't know.
But it would be really hilarious for her to read something like a passage from the Bible and be like, actually, this has been disproven by by the Big Bang Theory. So
to quote Sheldon Cooper. I don't know what she would read. I forgot. Can't tell you. I kind of forgot about April because I went down the drama path.
Sure.
But is Anna in attendance?
That's also something I put on.
I think she's in the audience, the congregation.
She's in the audience. Yeah.
She's in
the audience. Yeah.
A guest, if you will.
She's maybe a guest. But
I think she's a guest.
Here's my question is, so now with this twist and turn and pivot from Vineyard Valentine, do we still have the conflict of Anna telling Luke that she doesn't like that Lorelai was at the sleepover? Do we have that conflict that then leads to Lorelai going there and being like, hey, you know, I'm part of Luke's life and blah, 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 engaged isn't married, yada, yada, yada. Because I think that would set up a lot of friction for Anna to be at the wedding.
I wonder if the conflict then, because I still like that conflict between Anna and Lorelai as much as I don't like it, though I do like the conflict being that it's more Luke based than Anna, like we've talked about in the past. But I wonder if it's like engaged isn't married because she knows that she's been engaged in the past. Like I wonder if it's like you were engaged before and like that sort of thing. Maybe it's like she is being rude to her, more rude than she's already being, because.
Or maybe it's like it stays the same and Lorelai is trying to prove so hard to her that she and Luke are for real that she invites her to the wedding.
I think she would be invited. I think that she'd be invited via like April chaperone almost.
Yeah.
But as I was thinking about it, I feel like maybe on the day of something's going wrong and April, I could just see April with a clipboard at the wedding for some reason. Like she's like timing people walking down the aisle or like, I don't know, like she feels invested and like wants to have a job.
Yeah.
That's beyond just like walking down the aisle. Because of course Suki's kids would be the ring bearer and the flower girl.
Sure.
Even though she's a bit young, she'd probably be like walked down the aisle with a little flower basket. Be so cute.
I could see Jackson walking her down the aisle, like carrying her with a little basket and helping her throw things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, TJ as the flower girl would also be really cute.
Would really be fun. Honestly, would be a really silly goose time. Yeah. But I could see, okay, so going back to the wedding party, I could see Jess and TJ up there. And I could see Rory and Suki up there and figuring out where to place Liz.
Maybe Liz reads something. That feels so her.
Yeah, that also
something
feels
about
her.
Love.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And it's like something that's a little bit like when she gets to it, you're kind of like, that was strange.
Yeah.
We accept it.
But we accept it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then who would have been on the guest list?
All of Stars Hollow.
Well, so we already know, based on what Suki says to Lorelai in the perfect dress, when she's talking about conflicts, Miss Patty, Babette and Maury, Michelle, Kirk and Lulu. I love that Luke goes, who's Lulu? As if you've never laid eyes on this woman, as if you've never had conversations with this woman, and as if you weren't there for their very first date.
That's what I was about to say. As if you didn't watch Kirk film himself on his first date.
And as if you didn't talk to her in season 5 about Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah.
Like,
who's
what do you
Lulu?
mean? Who's Lulu? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Come on. All right. Anyway, so all of those people definitely on the guest list. I think obviously Emily and Richard are on the guest list. Do you think they would make her invite their friends?
I think that maybe she would get some sort of concession of like a couple of people.
And
like
who do you think they would be?
Nora.
Oh, of course,
and Tweenie
Nora.
Halpern.
I
don't know.
Natalie.
Or maybe she's like, no. I miss Natalie. God, bring Natalie back.
Yeah. Bring Natalie back.
I haven't talked about missing Natalie in quite a second.
I know.
But no, I'm actually trying to think of if she'd be like, no, Mom. Nope. Firm no. No. Don't know them. No, not invited.
Yeah, that feels very much her.
Yeah.
That feels
but also
like
at the same time, I don't know if you'd be like, oh my gosh, but I love Nora. Me and Tweenie Halpern are really good friends.
Yeah. That's true. DAR people.
Yeah.
She was fighting really hard for those friendships and
yeah.
Friday Night's All Right for fighting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
You're so
but it's also not Rory's wedding. It is Luke and Lorelai's wedding.
That's true.
But I really love the dynamic of some of the DAR people being with the Stars Hollow townies, like Patty and Nora talking. Really, something about that.
There's something about that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Nora, Patty, and Babette.
Yeah.
Are you joking?
She'd love them. Yeah. She'd have them in the DAR. No time.
So real. That's so true.
Yeah. Or Nora would be in a dance class.
Also
Either
real.
Way.
Yeah. One of the two.
So maybe just a couple. A smattering just for the drama, the effect of it, the situation of it.
I put Mia.
Oh my gosh, of course. But original Mia, not fake Mia.
Yeah, not fake Mia. Lane and Mrs. Kim and Zach.
Of course. Are they doing music?
Yeah, I could see them doing music. I could see Hap Alien being there for like, yeah.
Or do you think, or I mean, it could be Hap Alien or it could be like Lane's, their DJ duo for the evening.
That'd be fun. I would like that. Logan, obviously. Jackson, obviously. Gypsy. She's going to be sad. She's in love with Lorelai. That was her entire character arc. Andrew, Taylor, Liz and TJ, of course. I put Jess Mariano in all caps because he will be there.
He will be there. Be seen.
Caesar, Paris. We already mentioned maybe Anna Nardini. Maybe that's the drama. And then I put Crazy Carrie Duncan just in the background weeping into a bottle of liquor.
How did she end up there? They wouldn't invite her.
She's friends with Liz. Liz was like, I have to invite her. She doesn't believe you're actually getting married. And he's like, yes, please invite her so she knows I am married. And then that means something to me. And then
or they're like, how'd you get here?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing here? And then I put Chris, ? Would that have been weird? Would that have been the drama?
Well, given what happens in the finale of that episode, I think at this point in time, we're friends with Chris.
I was going to say, I think that at this point, not only is he a pal with the Gilmore girls, but I wonder if because of what Luke says to Lorelai in
Slippin' and
Bread. Thank you. I don't know why I wanted to say Nagamani.
Yeah, no.
I was like, what?
Every season has an episode where you're like,
just
what the fuck is this title?
What's the name of this episode?
He's slipping a bread dig.
He's slipping a bread dig after the prodigal daughter returns.
Yeah.
Yes. When he says to her, like, yeah, he's a dad. He's got to, take care of his daughter. He's got to be there for his daughter. He should be there. And that's because Luke has discovered he has a daughter. Lorelai doesn't know that yet. And I really do think that Luke would take that new nurturing side he has, this new relationship he has with April, and use it as a means to like make amends with Chris and vice versa. Because I don't think that Chris's intentions up until the end of season 6, beginning of season 7, really the beginning of season 7, are to be with Lorelai. I think he is respecting their relationship. He's trying to be on his best behavior.
Yeah. I think so too. I think that he's like has good intentions being there. And I think that he would provide some sort of fucking stellar wedding gift Because he's rich, as he says.
I'm rich. Yeah.
I'm rich. You could buy you a castle. Maybe that's what he does. Maybe he gifts Luke and Lorelai a castle.
Maybe. That'd be nice.
That would be really nice.
So that was everybody on my list.
Maybe he gifts them a honeymoon to Paris.
Ooh. Irony.
Yeah. I love it. Love a little irony. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else. I was about to say Gran, but she has since gone.
She has since gone. It's true. If there are any other townies that we forgot about, let us know.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think those
are like the main townies. My other question for you was going to be, would she invite Reverend Skinner, who I would have seen marrying the two of them if it wasn't for Pastor Todd?
But maybe Pastor Todd just was at this particular church. I think that Reverend Skinner could still come in, because I'm still trying to wrap my mind around some of this. Like, I don't know if maybe the idea of the fatefulness of the way that everything came together, that the reinstating of it, maybe like they had to cancel the hall, but they didn't get their deposit back, but someone else had already booked that day and they were already committed to June 3rd. So maybe they do get married in Stars Hollow. Like maybe it's their backup of like, they think that this was perfect because everything fell into place, but that was just not them. So maybe it's just a matter of like, they do go to Stars Hollow. They do get married by Reverend Skinner. They do have the reception in the gazebo in the town center.
Yeah.
Like, isn't this better than a carousel? Like, kind of moment.
I kind of am working under the guise that we're seeing what was meant to actually play out.
Yeah.
Though I love that. I mean, that's exactly what they ended up doing. Reverend Skinner married them in the gazebo.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I feel like maybe this is what they thought was going to happen, just because this is how everything fell together. But like, maybe it just like was the more perfect fate, is that it didn't work out and it happened the way it should have in Stars Hollow.
In the gazebo, gazebo, as she says, even though I was so surprised by that. I was like, what?
Why? That's like your favorite place on the planet.
Literally, yeah. And it's right across from the church. So if you want to get married in church and have, your reception,
And Suki caters and...
Yeah. It's right across from Luke's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be. Okay. Is there anybody who is notably not on the guest list?
Like they're not invited. Very pointed.
Very pointedly not invited, except for Dean. Not invited.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where Dean's not there. Maybe Dean is standing off in the distance watching.
I know. I genuinely wrote what would have been the drama, and there's some stuff between Jess and Logan that I have.
Of course, we gotta have the which like we could get that in a sec. We can get that in a sec.
Yeah.
But who wouldn't have been invited? The Huntsbergers, obviously.
Yeah, of course. But I'm like, is Chris not being invited the drama? I think that's a little too redundant of what happened in Wedding Bell Blues, where Emily invites him. I
think he's invited, sends a gift, doesn't come, knows his place. That's not dramatic, though. Chris should come.
Yeah. Well, if there's drama in place of that, that's fine. Here's my question before we really get into like what would have been the drama, because that's the next question, is are we working towards the same exact ending that we get in season 6? Because it's clear that that's the ending that Amy wanted. Was like, we're working towards Luke and Lorelai breaking up and her falling into bed with Christopher. So it's like, are we building towards that?
I'm torn.
Or are we building towards happily ever after?
I'm like super, super, super torn on that, because
I know
the drama, peak drama, like what a way to end an episode. That is a scary way to end a wedding, is to be in bed with the man who was not the groom when you are the bride. That's scary. I mean, that's
very One Tree Hill. It's very soap opera.
That's very Grey's Anatomy. It's very soap opera CW. Well,
let's kind of talk through what some of the drama you and I dreamt up could be and land on what we think would be the best option. Maybe we also have 2 alt endings.
Fine.
We have an ending and an alternate ending.
Yeah, a happy one and a
drama one.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first drama that I put, because I was just so excited and tickled by the thought of it, is Jess and Logan being at the wedding together would have been so juicy. I want a reunion of these two post Balalakas, you know? And that's when I was like, hey, maybe Dean also shows up and they all like point at each other like, you know, that like Spider-Man meme.
Or it's just in the middle, like just mouth agape. No, okay. So this is like actually my favorite drama of this, because there's something really fantastic about the overlapping of a Gilmore Girls drama in Wedding Bell Blues, and I think it's so perfect here that it's Lorelai's wedding and Rory is having the relationship issues, obviously,
a la Lorelai, Chris, Luke.
Yes. Ooh. So the last time Rory and Logan kind of had their own drama was also at a wedding, and so there's this element to it of like history repeating itself, because if we're following the trajectory of the season and leading up to June 3rd wedding, Rory and Jess kissed.
Yes, they did.
So,
and Rory at the time wasn't speaking to Logan because she's mad at him.
But they were still
the bridesmaids.
There was no question they were not broken up. Those two. When he left, they were 100% together.
Yes.
So then we're at this wedding now, and Rory has kissed a groomsman.
Groomsman revisited.
Like,
I know.
Peak
drama and very poetic.
Very poetic. And so are we ending this with Logan going to London?
Mm-hmm.
And
this is kind of their last hurrah.
But what occurs? Like, does Jess confront Logan?
Well, I wonder if like Logan goes up to him and is trying to be nice to him, is trying to like apologize and be like, I'm really sorry for the way I acted, blah, blah, blah.
Like, are they Jess at the same table?
Oh, I don't know if they're at the same.
Does Jess walk her down the aisle? Because you know how sometimes groomsmen will walk a bridesmaid down?
1000% he does. Because he's the best man and she's like, the... Brum, 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 brum. Well, I actually think that Logan would be really chill. He'd be like, I trust you. We're cool.
He has a cane.
He also has a cane. Thanks for reminding us of that.
I just remember.
He also has a cane. Yes.
Yes. He's broken.
I actually think it's juicier if Logan goes in not with the energy he did in Balalakas. He trusts Rory. He knows that the two of them are really rock solid. He's more focused on the fact that he's about to leave, and that sucks.
Yeah,
there
that's
could be
so
a little
fair.
bit of jealousy there, but I think he feels very rock solid about the two of them. He just is about to get her a rocket, maybe. I don't know. And I think that it's better if he goes in feeling really confident about their relationship, and Jess is the one to kind of rattle that.
I don't think he's being friendly, but I think that he's being courteous.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, this is my girlfriend. I understand the last time I saw you, we were doing like a dick measuring contest, and then you ran off and I was mean and we broke up, or did we? No, you actually did. So it's like, there's not good feelings there.
But no, I don't think so. But I think
there would be...
I think he's being cordial. Yeah. And kind of like Logan Huntsberger's version of cordial is charming. It's like, hey man, how you doing? Like, sorry about the last time we met.
How's your book?
We can start like, how's your book? But like almost like a hoping we can start fresh kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And Jess is just I
kind of seeing it like hoping we don't start at all.
Like, sure.
Hey man. Hey man.
Yeah.
Because I think that Rory, contrary to what Logan did, would be like, hey, you know who's gonna be walking me down the aisle is Jess, because he's Luke's nephew, his closest person in his life. That he's gonna be there.
Do you think that it's Jess's style to tell Logan that the two of them kissed?
No,
I don't think so either. So how does Logan find out?
Does Rory tell him? In like a twist of fate that Rory is on the other end of this, recognizing she's taking him to a wedding where she kissed the groomsman while they were together, and has to be like, hey, I kissed him. I was real angry. you were being annoying.
Yeah.
And that was grounds for me to kiss someone else, because I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. How do you think he would react to that? Because I think that that's exactly what happens.
I think that Logan carries enough guilt for like post accident after everything that happened, that I think that there is this level of like he feels like he has to give her that. Mm-hmm. That I think that there is a lot of like I think that man has a lot of self-loathing. So I loathing. Do unadulterated loathing, that I think that he'd be like not in the same way that like when she has the crush on the TA in season 7 of like, cool, you got a crush. Different.
Yeah. I don't think it would be that cash.
No. That he'd be like, thank you so much for telling me that while I was falling down a cliff, you were kissing another man. I guess I hadn't fallen yet, but I was about to. So I don't know. How do you think it would have gone?
I do think that he would have like stormed off a little bit. Maybe it would have been a situation, very different circumstances, but but I'm a Gilmore. Like, I gotta go. I gotta clear my head. Yeah. Goes for a walk, comes back and is like, all right, I've decided this is gonna be fine.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if he's gonna like really internalize it, and because of that, maybe he doesn't have a strong reaction. Is like, okay, yeah, thanks for letting me know, like that, or we're gonna work through it, sort of thing. But maybe that's Rory's tension of the day. Is she told Logan, he didn't have like a outsized reaction to it, and then Jess is there, and maybe her tension is like, ooh, how does this work now? Because like she's like kind of walking on eggshells with Logan a little bit because she was in the wrong and it was never addressed, and now we're making her face the consequences of her crimes. I don't know.
I don't know either, because I also don't know if I love the idea of the two of them starting a long distance relationship off with conflict.
Yeah,
would that have given them a stronger storyline in season 7? Because we're discovering as we move through season 7, they don't really have much of a storyline.
They have none. It's episodic, really, with them.
Yeah.
Diary entries, if you will.
Maybe that is a good way for them to kick off their long distance relationship. It's like, I love you so well. Maybe we won't get the like, I love you, Ace, you know?
No. We gotta have it. Can't.
Do you think that he would?
If you give me one thing, you have to give me that.
I just think it would put a damper on all of that.
There would be a damper, if you will. No, I mean, I wonder though if it's like, I know we were in a bad place. I know that things went wrong between us, but I want
He writes a poem. I know we were in a bad place, but I love you, Ace. Just a little poem.
Oh, he said, now I'm a writer. I'm going to release a book of poems and everything rhymes with Ace.
Yeah.
Face, place, chase, case, race, mace. Anyway, those are called rhymes, and they all rhymed with Ace.
So thank you, Haley.
You're so welcome. I know that no one knew what a rhyme was unless I explained it.
That's true.
No, I kind of like the idea of like almost like a recommitment, because I do still think that there's this like strong tension of like he doesn't want to go.
Yeah,
but maybe it's kind of a reflection of like, yeah, I went and did that and I put us in a bad place and I was really childish and immature, and maybe I do need to go grow up. Maybe something happens that kind of makes him realize that, rather than kind of being a coward about it.
Yeah.
Maybe he walks out firmly.
Yeah. With his cane.
I guess not that firmly.
Yeah. Not as firmly as he could if he didn't have the cane.
No, he made like a good time. He rushed. He scurried them. If you haven't listened to, or haven't watched rather, the Partings recap, just go up there.
Go to the part where I imitate.
He booked it down that hallway. So maybe he is really firm. I think he's faking it. Yeah, admittedly,
a little bit.
Because when he gets to season 7 and he has the cane, he doesn't even use it.
He doesn't even need it. He's just holding it like a prop.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk me through what you think Jess's end of this, like Jess's perspective is on all of this. Is he just really there for his uncle? Is he there for Rory Gilmore? Is there like a yearning there, or is it really truly just? Is it really truly just like where he left things with her in Philadelphia? You know, like, hey, you and me, it's just what it is.
It is. Yeah, you, me. Oh, I actually want to choose them all, but I think I wonder what his feelings are as a result of that. Like after the kiss and he thinks that they're going to be together because like, quote unquote, everything's been fixed. And she's like, yeah, everything's fixed, which like clarify what he means when he says that. What is everything?
Yeah.
He didn't have to immediately agree to it. And he thought that meant that Logan was gone and everything was better and she was back at Yale. And she thought, actually, I don't know what she thought. She was agreeing
that she was back at Yale.
Yeah.
Everything's fixed. My mom and I have resolved things. I'm back at Yale. I moved out of my grandparents' house. Everything's fixed.
Yeah. I'm good with Logan. But he saw that as she was single now. And so they kissed. And like, it's clear by the kiss and his desire to kiss her that he still has romantic feelings for her. That she's still in the forefront of his mind as someone he could be with. And does that carry a level of resentment towards her that she kissed him having a boyfriend once again?
Maybe. Would be really interesting to see Jess show up with a date. A little redundant of the opening of season 3, but
actually my brain just went beam boom 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 boom.
Like, I love when your brain does that.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes it can feel like a recycled plot, but I kind of like when it feels like patterns of human nature a little bit, like,
and patterns of Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
But you're right. Gilmore Girls is really good at writing human nature. And Jess finding someone to hook up with over the summer, a la like season 2 to season 3, very on brand for him. Very on brand for a man to be like, I can't be alone, so I'm going to go find some other girl.
And do you think this ruins Jess a little bit? Because Jess is very preserved in season 6 as like we don't know anything about the mistakes he's made. We don't know anything about the people he knows, if he's hurt people, if he's like supported people, if like he's changed completely, that then when he comes here, he falls a little bit into a bad habit. That like bringing back a Shane, like our cotton candy princess, like that sort of person into the wedding. Do you think that creates that dynamic of like, oh, there goes Jess trying to make Rory Gilmore jealous again? Or maybe like there goes Jess doing that thing, not considering Rory Gilmore, though he was. He's jealous.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I agree with you that I think it would upend that. Yeah. Now I don't know if I want him to do that. So I'm going to put a pin in that.
I don't know if I want Rory to be invested in him in any way.
I'm just curious if he's invested in Rory in any way.
He always is. Have you seen the revival?
Yes, I have.
That look through the window?
I remember it well.
Yeah, all too well, if you will.
I'm then just wondering, again, kind of back to my original question, is Jess's perspective on all of this that he's just accepted, a la how he did in Philadelphia, that the two of them are just not going to be anything? He respects the relationship that she has with Logan. If that's who she loves, he's like, I don't understand it, but have a good time. And he's really just there to show up for Luke. I think that's probably the way that we would still preserve Jess's character in his relationship with Luke. That's what we kind of root for. So maybe we go in that direction, and it's less about Jess actually being involved or invested or focused on Rory in this episode, but moreover that he has inadvertently stirred up drama between Logan and Rory.
I kind of like that they're twofold, that he's causing drama between them, but is not necessarily creating a love triangle between them. Yeah. That like, that's more of what it is. It's making them reflect on themselves.
So it's a little different from what we got in Wedding Bell Blues in that there is drama and there is that like poetic parallel moment.
Yes.
Where Rory kind of mirrors her mom in some ways, where she left out some details about, a past flame with a current flame who she is very invested in. And it's at a wedding and it's a groomsman, not a bridesmaid. And it reflects Logan's, drama and
her own hypocrisy of the situation.
Yeah, exactly. I love that, but I love that there are differences there. It doesn't have to be an exact mirror.
Because Jess, much better man than Christopher.
Agreed.
Hands down. But I will always kind of love the idea that Jess is someone who like always has this piece of his heart, always has this piece of his mind, like calibrated in the direction of Rory Gilmore, that like he will always kind of have a yearning piece towards her, that like even if he brings a date in good faith, like that, like this is someone he's invested in, that it's not about Rory. He more so stirs up the drama between them, but in the same way that we get in the revival, that like look through the window, that there's just that like hopeless feeling of like, this truly will never work out between us, but I will always stand across the room and look at you having a good time and look at you being joyous with this ache that is never going to be me. And I like kind of want just a moment of it, just a little bit.
We could get a moment of it,
just
a
taste,
a
little bite.
I totally agree.
And a moose bouche for some yearning.
Yeah, exactly. So let's turn to the guests and the actual like happenings of the wedding before we get into Luke and Lorelai. So like, is there any townie drama that you came up with that would be like silly, funny, goofy?
No, not that I came up with, but I do love the idea of the Stars Hollow townies mingling with the DAR ladies. Like, I'm now obsessed with the pairing of Nora and Patty and Babette.
Oh my God, would be so funny. What a gaggle of gals. What do you think Kirk's role would have been with the wedding? Because you know he would have had a role. He couldn't have just been a guest.
Oh, okay. So something else we have to reflect on is that we just had Lane's wedding.
We did. Yummy bartenders.
Yummy bartenders.
Do you think that is that too many weddings in a row? I mean,
No.
I don't think that we would have had
another one.
I don't think we would have had Luke and Lorelai's wedding if we had gotten Lane's wedding.
So no Lane's wedding. So we'll be cutting Lane yet again, ruining this woman's life.
No, we can't.
Well, no. Okay. Actually, canonically, we have to cut it because this is where it's like, no, June 3rd. That's not when I'm getting married. You're so right. So I kind of like the idea of maybe Lane's storyline being cut, or I'm not going to say cut, being changed because I didn't like the way her proposal happened.
Yeah.
I like maybe her storyline heading more in like a Hep alien is reuniting for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Storyline.
And that even if she does get engaged, it happens better. But also maybe that's the wedding in season 7.
Yeah, could be.
We could just lift that episode up and put it into season 7. Put it over
there.
Yeah.
Because I also like the idea of maybe Lorelai's wedding.
I love that episode. I love that episode.
Tara gave that one a 10 out of 10.
I give it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was a perfect episode.
It was a really good episode. Mm-hmm. Like it was really perfect. But I wonder if then Lorelai's wedding is the like re-premiere or like the premiere of the reunion of like the first reunion playing of Hep Alien. Yeah. I think that could be fun. But I do think that we do have to cancel Lane's wedding in season 7 for good or season 6 for good reason, because that storyline was weak anyways.
Yeah.
And just
we're gonna put it in season 7. Yeah.
She's gonna find happiness there. Maybe with someone who's not Zach, but that's neither here nor there.
I love it. Okay. So
do you have any townie drama?
No, I just was curious if you did, because
I think that we can replace Kirk, because you asked about Kirk. Maybe Yummy Bartender is at Lorelai's wedding.
I think that would be a lot of fun, because I know that he was meant to be the photographer at his at Lorelai and Max's wedding. So I was like, is he the photographer? But I love the Yummy Bartenders. It's very funny. And I really do think that Yummy Bartenders fits better with Lorelai's wedding.
Yeah. 100%.
I also love the idea of Luke being like, the fuck is a yummy bartender?
I like the idea of Emily Gilmore saying, what the fuck is a yummy bartender?
Oh my God. Oh my God. That would be hilarious.
I think Richard would low-key be involved, like invested.
I think he'd be like, this is great. They make a great drink. We should franchise. Have you thought about franchising? I feel like he and Kirk would have the best conversation.
I think that Richard would be having a conversation at Kirk.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Yeah.
That's very, very fair. So moving into the Luke and Lorelai of it all, what were some of the things swirling around in your mind when it comes to their drama?
I think their drama does have like the April aspect of it.
Yeah, the April element.
Because the drama really is driven by whether or not they're going to actually walk down the aisle. Because like, is that what we want for them? Because like in my mind, what I see is like, Richard and her having this moment that's just between the two of them, and just like the tender moment when she's like, thank you, Daddy. That's just like something between them that maybe she could reference at the party that little gathering they have after his funeral, so she could say something nice about him. Perhaps that's what I just like saw so clearly. And it's like sort of like, I don't know what he would say, but it's like something defining of the episode that makes her feel better, or like it could be cheesy, but I think sometimes when you have like a wedding episode, you got to have something that's a little bit cheesy.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
But I do think that the drama depends on whether or not they're going to say I do or I don't, or say nothing at all.
And what do you think is involved in that? Is it April being there? Is it April not being there? Is it Anna maybe not allowing April to be a part of this wedding for whatever reason? Do you think that would be characteristic of her? Is it someone objecting? Is it someone saying something to one of them before the wedding? Like, there are a lot of scenarios that kind of blew through my mind. And I was curious if that was part of any of like the firing off that your brain did when you were.
Yeah. I mean, admittedly, the main firing off is when I was like, oh, Jess is the best man. I went,
of course.
Dun, dun, dun. And with this, I think that I had to like kind of draw back into the rest of the season and think about Luke and where his head was at for a lot of this, because he was full of doubts, like about whether this should happen. In our telling of this, it got delayed and then it got reinstated. And are any of those doubts that like kind of that he can't do this still present within this episode and within this arc? Because I don't know if I want Lorelai to be kind of having that partings, I love you, like I want to marry you, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't think I would feel good to have her be like, we're here. Why would we delay it? Like, Anna's in the audience. She's okay with it. April's here. She's going to read the periodic table to everyone. We have to, we have to continue this. Like, why would we delay this? Like, what's stopping you? I don't know if I want that. Because I wouldn't feel good for her to then him be like, yeah, you're right, and walk down the aisle. Or maybe they do begrudgingly get married.
I actually think the ending, because the next question, the final question that we have for this is what would have been the inevitable cliffhanger. I think it would have been really poetic for it to end with whether or not Lorelai says I do or Luke says I do, considering that we ended the last season with whether or not one of them was going to say yes to the proposal, specifically Luke. So I don't know which one I would have preferred, if it was like a Lorelai moment where she's standing there.
Oh my gosh, that's what I was thinking about. Because I hate that ending in that actual episode.
Lorelai. And she's the one who now we're waiting to hear an answer from, considering she was the one to propose. If maybe now Luke is ready, but she's like, actually, I'm now realizing, like, what are we doing? Do you really want to be with me? Like, I had to basically drag you down the aisle.
Yeah. Well, how many episodes ago? I guess like this would be like 6 episodes ago. 6? No, because it was episode 15 was Vineyard Valentine, and we're at episode 22. So that many episodes.
7
between them.
7.
Perfect. 7 episodes to kind of shake things together. I guess like 6, because it was the end of that episode.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot that could have upended it. One of the scenarios I had was that like something happens where April can't be there, and he's like, well, I'm not getting married unless she's here. And Lorelai is like, hey, I get it. I so get it. But like, we're here and the wedding is happening. So can we please get married? And he's like, I can't. She's not here. And that kind of leads to this whole, like, I thought that we had been over this. I thought that we had, I thought that we had made it through this. I need you to choose me. I need you to figure that out,
Yeah. I know that like one of like the main sources of Luke's anxiety about this was Anna and not involving Lorelai in the Anna side of things. So I wonder if it has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Of, like, Anna's still resistant. But, like, it seems like based on Anna's definition of what is allowed, getting married allows for her to be a part of April's life. I don't know. I like can't decide because I really want them to be happy.
I know.
Obviously, I don't want this episode to end with her in Chris's bed. Is there a world in which they do get married and then there's this feeling of like, this isn't right?
Yeah, of course there's a world where that happens.
I don't want that. I want Lorelai to be happy.
I know, I do too.
Lorelai's my girl. I want her to have
we want her to have
wonderful
happiness.
time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to end it and it be terrible, but because like, are we taking into consideration that this is Amy's last episode? And are we suddenly making her a happy-go-lucky girly and ending on a wedding? Is Roy pregnant?
Wow. There's so many possibilities.
And Logan's going to London?
That makes this really hard, right? Because this could go in so many different directions. And I know that like the instinct is to say we'd wanted to go into a different direction than season 7 took us because not a lot of us are very big fans of season 7. But that like there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. Is Amy writing the next season? Where does she intend for this to go? Are there 2 more seasons ahead of us? How do we expand the drama? You know, and it's like if Luke and Lorelai separating is not the drama, what are we watching, you know? Because I know a lot of people on the other end of this conversation might be like, nothing, they're happy and they're married and that's what we want to see. But the reality is that doesn't really make for very exciting television.
Well, here's my question. Something that we have recently discovered in season 7, discussed is really the right response, is that boy, do we ever want to get back to season 1. Like, let's go back to the beginning. As I said recently, take me to God's country, get me out of season 7 and get me back in season 1.
I asked Haley this when we were watching Farewell, My Pet live with our Vicious Trollops. And I asked her because famously in rankings 3 years ago, you were like, season 7 is better than season 1. And I was like, you're crazy. I don't know how I'm going to do a podcast with you.
I know, she should have quit.
Then I wanted to save this question until the end of season 7, till our season 7 recap.
Waiting 3 years to ask me this again.
I've been waiting to ask you. Genuinely, I'm like, God, I can't wait to get to season 7 so that we can kick it in reverse.
Yeah.
But I really thought maybe you would have to say like, I need to watch season 1 again in order to like kind of compare and contrast. You don't even need that. Let's not bury the lead. No. You are longing for season 1 again because season 7 is tough. It's tough.
It's tough unless you want this like we were saying, like just like they're happy and they're just living their lives and they're just having a good time, because like if you're Team Logan, that's what you're getting.
Exactly.
But the rest of it is just like, what are we doing here? Let's get back. And so in saying that, is there a version of the drama here that kind of gets us back to that feeling of where we were at in season 1? And I know that that's hard because a lot of season 1 was the uncertainty and fluid nature of Lorelai Gilmore's paramours, of like, is Luke invested in her? Is he looking for her chicken? Is she dating the teacher? Chris shows up. So there's this like tension that exists that kind of dissipates because now she's married. So what is her conflict in season 7? And do we need to heavily consider that in our decision here in this fiction that we're making, or can we just make this fiction based on itself?
I like the idea of getting back to the energy that season 1 gave us, which was and always is centered on the relationships between Lorelai, her daughter, and her mother.
Yes.
But the show did really evolve into, and like our podcast is an example of like the nuances and myriad of dramas that picked at and explored in the series, but at the end of it, like, we do talk about the romantic relationships a lot on the show. So despite the fact that it is very, you know, female centered, female focused, and about the mother-daughter relationships, a lot of what we tend to gravitate towards, I mean, the first drama we considered was Jess, Logan, and Rory, and that's because their romantic relationships are something that has you know, really kept the engine of the show moving. So I'm like, I'd be remiss to say that it doesn't, like, that the heartbeat of the show by the time we get to season 6 isn't about like Luke and Lorelai and whether or not they're going to make it, because that is the question that's kind of posed at the beginning. You saw that outtake of them in Star-Crossed Lovers and Other Strangers when he says, I love you. And she goes, well, then the show would be over then, because like that is kind of what we're working towards. So that's a tough question to answer, because it's like, how do we get back to that balance of the complexities that exist not only between Lorelai's relationship with her daughter and her mom, but also Luke, without it necessarily going up in flames the way it did in season 7. But Amy wrote that. Amy wrote it so that we would have that conflict by the end of season 6.
Well, that's why I was wondering if like this is maybe the series finale, and like instead of, they canceled it because Amy was leaving, they canceled Gilmore Girls. Are we canceling Gilmore Girls?
Like you said, Rory gets pregnant, Luke and Lorelai get married,
Logan goes to London.
Jess looks at Rory longingly. Would that have been a better ending? Is the series finale Luke and Lorelai getting married?
Well, it is the finale in fall.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Oh my God, did we just end Gilmore Girls?
At season 6. I want to know how people feel about that.
I really think that we could have done that. I really think that there could have been, like, one of the things that I hate the most about fall is that Emily wasn't there. I think that it's a beautiful moment, like the music that's playing and like it's reflecting light. Like, of course we're going to have that. We'll have it in this one too. And it's in the middle of the night and it's whimsical and it feels like this like sort of like magical realism that took place in the revival that kind of came out of nowhere, and it's fun and it's this cool ode to Amy Sherman-Palladino with top hats and whatnot. But I feel like it's not the nature of the show. Like, I feel like we got to a place that Emily would be there and Emily would be invited and her presence would be desired.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the idea of maybe this, while still maintaining a strong sense of drama, that we ultimately end happily.
Here. And I really want to know what our listeners at home think, because I actually don't think that's a bad idea. That Amy got to really end her show the way that she wanted to. Of course, we wouldn't have gotten season 7. We wouldn't have gotten the revival. And there's something like a little heartbreaking about that, because there was something so beautiful about being able to go and revisit Gilmore Girls. And there was something very poetic.
Could have had a revival.
Rory's
got a baby.
There you go. I want to know what our listeners at home think, because that does feel like kind of the ending.
Wouldn't it be fun for, like, of course they're having lobster, because Luke was like adamant in Vineyard Valentine that they have lobster. Suki has made an amazing spread. She's made an amazing cake. I imagine that she's about to walk down the aisle, someone has to rip her apron off of her because she forgot. And we see maybe Luke sitting with Logan and they're eating lobster, and Lorelai and Rory are sitting together, and it ends with her telling her that she's pregnant. And Emily and Richard are dancing on the dance floor.
Oh my God, wait.
Carol Bishop's there.
This is a really strong finale. That's not what I was expecting when we set out to do this today.
Just standing off in the distance, staring at Rory.
Wow. This is where Elaine and Zach get engaged.
Is it?
Maybe.
Or maybe they just don't.
Maybe
we just break them up and they're just in Happylian and they never get together.
Don't kiss.
They just realized it didn't work for them. They gave it the old band college try and are just done.
This is how Chris is involved in Rory and Lorelai's life. He's just kind of there.
He offers them tickets to go to Paris because he's rich.
For their honeymoon instead of them going off and eloping in Paris.
Exactly.
Wow.
Emily can still go mildly blind for a day, and Rory can get her astronomy building. And
yeah. I love that. There's something really beautiful about that.
And there's conflict in the day.
Yeah,
things
of
occur.
course.
Things go wrong.
Things always do.
Because I really love the idea that things fell into place so cleanly, and then the day of, everything's going wrong, and maybe there's this like fatefulness that she doesn't believe in because like it can't snow in June. She can't find the sign, but maybe there's just something that we find that maybe is cheesy at the end of the day, but maybe it's something with Richard, maybe it's something with Rory, maybe it's something with her mom.
Well, I really, really like the idea. I'm now shifting my perspective, and I'm back on the idea of like kind of in the Bon Voyage way, like something has happened to everything that was supposed to happen with the perfect wedding, and they now have like the whole town has to come together to make the wedding work in Stars Hollow on June 3rd. Yeah. In the same way that they had to do that for Rory's Bon Voyage party. So I kind of love that.
I kind of like pulling in like Happy Birthday Baby and Hammers and Veils and like the town coming together for Lorelai, because like she's our main character, and I like that Rory's having romantic problems as she's revealing a secret. And
wow, I like this.
Fun.
I really wasn't expecting this.
Me neither.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, I really want to know what you guys at home think, because we're going to do some Gilmore to Considers over the summer that address things like topics like this. So call in if you have thoughts, feelings, if you have an alternate ending.
Yeah. If you want things to end unhappily.
Yeah. I like the drama. We need the drama. Yeah. I really want to know. I want to know what your thoughts are. Wow. Okay. So that's the new and improved June 3rd.
Maybe. Oh, that's a good episode too.
Also a good episode title.
Wow. We usually struggle to come up with titles these days.
It's true, but
so many.
There's so many to choose from. And and we've used so many, but wow.
And usually we get a little slap happy and they're crazy.
They're actually insane.
Wait, but I just can't believe though we cut partings.
I know.
Partings is gone.
But how do you feel about that versus this episode?
What would this episode be called? Because it's not called Partings.
It could be called Partings. We could sneak other partings in there. All right. The answer is no. No. Well, there was something poetic about the fact that Amy and Dan were leaving. Partings. Lorelai and Luke break up. Partings. Logan goes to London. Partings. You know, so...
Partings.
So I don't know what I would want that to necessarily be, but maybe we can consider that in our Gilmore to Consider.
Yeah, you guys name this episode. I kind of like, I've always, because the first episode is called Pilot, because it's like first thing on air, I've always kind of wanted like a finale to kind of have like a similar airplane term, admittedly, like to have like a full circle sort of moment from a pilot. Landing. Please prepare for landing. Yeah. But something like that. Like, you know, terminal
D-plane. Terminal D.
D-plane. D-plane. That's it. It's called deplaning.
There you go.
Yeah.
Instead of partings,
on time arrival.
Yeah.
Departures.
ETAs.
Yeah. Something like that. Or like, I don't know, just like the end. But it's never the end, because that's the kind of nature of the ending of like ultimately the revival is like life goes on.
Life goes on. Obladi oblada. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But speaking of the revival, so of course this year is the 25th anniversary of Gilmore Girls, because the pilot episode aired in 2000. But 10 years ago, for the 15-year anniversary of Gilmore Girls, the cast famously got together at ATX TV Festival for a 15-year reunion. It was Amy and Dan and like Lauren, Alexis, all of the cast members, except unfortunately Ed Herman. There was a huge applause, and I believe like a seat left open for him because he unfortunately had passed away shortly before that. But this was huge, because this was kind of the beginnings of these conversations that were happening about the revival coming to be in 2016. And I have actually never seen this footage.
I cannot believe.
I have never seen it. I've maybe seen clips of it here and there.
You had to have, yeah.
I had to have, because it was huge, especially for the time, you know. And it's funny because when we decided that we wanted to cover this, because we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary, June 6th, 2015 was when this this panel happened, we did not know that we were going to be attending the Amy Sherman Palladino Multiverse event for PaleyFest out in LA. So we were really excited to like dissect this and get into it. But now I'm even more excited because we get to watch this and, you know, see the chatter about Gilmore Girls and kind of compare it up against what we saw at PaleyFest a little bit.
Yeah. And I imagine like hear a lot of the same ideas, but see what was like expanded upon or what we learned in one versus the other. I'm also excited because it wasn't just the entire panel. There's also like a breakout session that's just with a moderator and Amy Sherman Palladino that I think that you're going to love to watch as well, because it's a lot about her craft. And she wears her little hat and she has a hard time holding her drink.
I cannot wait. And we'll have more to say on that in the next episode.